Hello. Hello, Sir Howard here. How's everyone doing? Welcome sa ating panibago na namang episode on Libreng Sit-In where currently, ang pinag-uusapan natin is on the importance of norms in the field of psychometrics. And in part 1 of the video, pinag-usapan natin kung papaano um, ginagamit yung norm sa pagbibigay ng kahulugan doon sa raw scores. And then on part 2, specifically, nag-discuss na tayo ng mga techniques, specific techniques on how to construct the norms. I think ang pinag-usapan natin doon is on the measure of central tendency, and then pinag-usapan din natin yung frequency distribution. For today, mag-aaral na naman tayo ng panibagong technique on how to construct norms. This time, we will talk about how to use yung tinatawag nating normal curve in assigning meanings to different raw scores. Okay? So this is part 3 of our installment on using norms in the field of psychometrics. Now, remember, again, for today, i-connect natin yung normal curve at kung paano ba nakakatulong yung normal curve in the way we assign meanings to the raw scores of the test. It's very important as a psychometrician na talagang naiintindihan mo kung ano ang link between the normal curve and how we assign meanings to the different raw scores. Kasi malaki ang connection ng dalawang yan. No? You have to understand how normal curve works and how that normal curve can be used para magkaroon ng kahulugan yung mga raw scores na makukuha natin. So how raw scores get meaning using the normal curve? That's the main question that we aim to answer for today. Siyempre, dapat sisimulan natin ito sa usaping ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng normal curve. For those of you na hindi pa nakakita ng normal curve, ito ang itsura ng normal curve. Okay? So, this is what you mean by a normal curve. Now, the first thing you need to know about normal curve is any score that we get from a test, I'm talking about the raw score, makikita yung mga scores na yon anywhere within the area of the normal curve. So imagine those three x's are all raw scores. So that raw score, that x1 raw score can be found in that area of the curve. Yung pangalawang score can be found in that area of the curve. And that third score can be found in that area of the curve. Basta yun lang yung tatandaan nyo, no? Yung normal curve, yung area ng normal curve, diyan natin makikita lahat ng raw score na pwede nating makuha from people who will be taking a psychological test. Now, the first thing or the very important detail that you have to know about the normal curve, the middle of the normal curve is always the mean of the distribution. So imagine you have 40 scores, kunin mo yung average ng 40 scores na yon, and that will be on the middle of the curve. Let me repeat, the middle of the curve is always the mean of the scores in the population. Number two, the normal curve, if you notice, is divided by different normal points. Yung bumilog na yan. Ang tawag ko dyan, mga normal points, no? Just imagine normal points as, for those of you familiar with LRT, parang mga estasyon to ng LRT. Diba? So, from Quirino Station, let's say, diretso ka dito, from Quirino Station, mapupunta ka sa Pedro Hill. Okay? From Pedro Hill, dire-diretso mapupunta ka sa oh, UN Station. From UN Station, dire-diretso ka mapupunta ka sa Central Station, so on and so forth. Okay? Now, because the normal curve is divided by normal points, naturally, magkakaroon tayo ng 6 na hati sa normal curve, also known as the 6 compartments or the 6 areas of the normal curve. Let me repeat. Those normal points will divide the normal curve into 6 areas or compartments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, you may ask, no, ano ngayon ang kahalagahan that we divide the normal curve into 6 different areas? This is very important because those 6 areas of the normal curve will determine the meaning of the score. So, yung normal curve na yan na hinati natin sa 6, diyan ngayon manggagaling yung kahulugan ng isang cross score. In other words, which area of the normal curve a raw score will fall into will determine the meaning of the raw score. Sa Tagalog, depende kung saan area ng normal curve babagsak ang isang raw score, doon manggagaling yung kahulugan ng raw score na yon. So halimbawa yung raw score na bumagsak dito sa area number 2, what do we call that score? That score is below average. Kapag ang isang raw score ay napunta dito sa area ng above average, o anong tawag doon? E di above average yung score. Kapag yung raw score bumagsak doon sa area ng numbers 3 or 4, anong tawag mo sa raw score na yon? Average. So it's very important that we know this because the meaning of the score highly depends on where the raw score can be spotted within the normal curve. So syempre, ang next logical question natin dyan is, now, how can you know what compartment a score belongs to? Paano mo ngayon malalaman yun? Halimbawa, yung score mo is 85 over 100. Question, nasaan kaya babagsak yung 85 over 100? Would that belong to area 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? That's a good question. At yan ngayon yung ating sasagutin. There are two ways on how to spot specifically where in the normal curve a raw score will fall into. Una, pwede tayong gumamit ng standard deviation method. Pwede rin tayong gumamit ng z-score method. Paano natin ginagamit yung standard deviation method? Okay? Remember, ito yung formula ng standard deviation from your elementary statistics classes. Okay? We are not here to talk about the formula of the standard deviation. Kayo na bahala magbasa dyan, no? Kung paano ba gumagana yan, bakit ganyan yung formula. This video is designed just to help you understand the logic of the normal curve. So, hindi tayo nandito para kilatisin o para katayin yung tawag dito, yung formula ng standard deviation. Okay? So, ano ba ang logic ng standard deviation? Basically, standard deviation tells you how far any score is from the mean. Gaano kalayo ang isang score mula sa average or sa mean ng score distribution. Okay? Now, given this definition of the standard deviation, let me give you examples. Ide-demo ko na kung paano natin pwedeng magamit yung standard deviation to determine where a raw score is or where the raw score can be found within the normal curve. Halimbawa, let's go to example number 1. I have a score of 46 over 100 and average ng population na ito is 40. So, sabihin natin sa population na ito, merong 40 na katao na kumuha ng test. Halimbawa, so we have 40 different raw scores. You get the average of the 40 raw scores, you will get 40. Yung 46, yun yung raw score na ini-interpret natin, and the standard deviation is 5. Now again, how did we know that the standard deviation is 5? Well, we can easily compute this by using softwares. Oo. So usually naman yung mga statistika, SPSS, kapag nag-descriptive statistics ka dyan, kasama na talaga lalabas yung standard deviation. So this is so easy to compute. Now, how can we use this information to determine where in the normal curve is 46? Diba? Saan doon sa 6 na compartments ng normal curve makikita ang 46 using standard deviation. So this is what we do. Sabi ko kanina, the middle of the curve is the mean. What is the mean? 40. Given yon. Yun yung average. Dahil ang standard deviation is 5, which means yung scores na nagse-separate sa bawat normal points na sinabi ko kanina are 5 units apart. So that means from the mean, from that normal point, ilang units ang nagse-separate dyan papunta doon sa isa pang normal point pa kanan, 5 units. So mag-a-add ka lang ng 5. So 40 plus 5 is 45. O, papunta pa sa next normal point is 50. Papunta sa dulong normal point is 55. Now, sa kaliwa naman, syempre, magma-minus 5 tayo kasi this is already below the mean. So, you subtract 5 from 40, another 5, another 5. There you go. So, ito na ngayon yung mga different possible raw scores within the normal curve. Given this system, now we can easily spot kung saan babagsak yung raw score na 46, right? So, 46 belongs to that area, to the fifth area, no? Fifth compartment. And what does that mean? Dahil alam natin that 46 belongs to the fifth area, ang tawag sa 46 is above average. And it makes sense. Kasi nga yung average ng mga tao dito is only 40, but the raw score is 46. So, lagpas siya sa average. So, ang tawag natin dyan is above average. Example number 2. How can we spot where 35 over 100 is in the normal curve given the following details? Okay? Raw score is 35. The average of this population is 50. And the standard deviation is 8. Nasaan sa normal curve yung ating raw score na 35? Ganun ulit gagawin natin. Middle of the curve is 50. And then standard deviation is 8. Ibig sabihin, the number of units that separates the normal points is 8 units plus 8 sa kanan minus 8 sa kaliwa. Given this system, we can easily spot where 35 is in the normal curve. And 35 belongs to area number 2, which means anong tawag sa 35? This is low average and it makes sense. Kasi yung average ng population is 50, yung raw score natin 35, so mababa siya sa average. Definitely makikita mo yan sa kaliwang area o sa kaliwang side ng normal curve, which are low scores. So, ang tawag natin sa 35 is low average. Ngayon, paano kung halimbawa, itong katanungan, no? Paano kung eksakto yung score sa normal point? Halimbawa, in this case, 58. Di ba? Palikahin natin, ha? Paano kung 58? Sumakto siya doon sa normal point na 58. Does this belong to above average or to average? Ang sagot, doon pa rin yan sa average. So, when the raw score is 58, it still belongs to compartment number 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth compartment pa rin yan. That's average. Ano ang score na masasabi nating above average na? Well, 59 is already above average. Okay? Another example. Halimbawa, 42. Ganyan. Paano mo ngayon malalaman o ano ngayon ang interpretation mo sa 42 eksakto sa normal point? So, 42 still belongs to, again, average pa rin yan. Paano mo malalaman or kailan magiging low average yung 42 kailan magiging low average ang score kapag maging 41 yan? Okay, so from 34 to 41, that's low average. From 42 to 58, that's average. From 59 to 66, above average. From 67 to 74, that's excellent. Okay, so ganun lang, no? Ang pag-i-interpret ng raw score given the normal curve in relation to standard deviation. Now, another way na pwede natin gamitin para mahanap nasaan sa normal curve ang isang raw score is the z-score system. In fact, I would say the z-score system is more commonly used in test development compared to purely standard deviation method. Halos lahat ng standardized psychological test, ang ginagamit talaga ay yung z-score. Medyo mag-iiba yung takbo ng storya kapag z-score. As you can see in the picture, the middle of the curve becomes 0. Sa standard deviation method, middle of the curve is the mean. Dito, hindi natin nahanapin yung mean. Okay? Yung gitna talaga ng normal curve is 0, and then you just add 1 to the normal points. Plus 1, plus 2, plus 3 to the right, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3 to the left. And then, dapat nyong ma-memorize kung ano ang formula ng z-score, and that is score minus mean divided by standard deviation. Let me repeat, score minus mean divided by standard deviation, yan ngayon yung formula ng z-score. So, given this system, how does this work? Bigyan ko ulit kayo ng example. Halimbawa, yung raw score natin is 77 over 100. The mean of the population is 65 and the standard deviation is 5. Given these details, how can we compute for the z-score? We use the formula x minus mean divided by standard deviation. It gives you positive 2.4. Take note, in this system, mahalaga yung sign, no? Kung positive or negative. Positive means the z-score is found towards the right side of the curve above the mean, while negative means it's below the mean or makikita sa left side ng normal curve. So given that the z-score here is positive 2.4, huling-huli natin that it belongs to the last component or the last area of the normal curve. This is compartment number 6. So anong tawag natin dyan? Excellent yan. And it makes sense kasi ang population mean is 65, yung score niya ay 77. Magaling to. Di ba? Nahigitan pa niya yung mean ng 12 units. So that means this person is good. How good is this person? Excellent. Based on our computation of the z-score. Example number 2, the score is 62 over 100, population mean is 70, and the standard deviation is 5. X minus mean divided by standard deviation, it gives you negative 1.6. Dahil negative yan, we expect that the score will be found somewhere to the left of the curve of the curve, kasi nga below the mean ito, no? Ang mean is 70, ang score lang niya 62. So we can find negative 1.6 in compartment number 2, which I think ang ibig sabihin niyan is below average. So that's how you use the z-score system compared to the standard deviation system. O ngayon, just some general guidelines, no, on how to interpret z-scores. The further away the z-score is from 0, the more exceptional the original score is. Kaya nga sabi ko, yung mga scores, yung mga z-scores na makikita mo sa kanang bahagi above 0, ito yung mga scores na pasado papuntang excellent. Values of z less than negative 2 or greater than positive 2 can be considered exceptional or unusual, or in some other terms, outlier. Actually, pareho lang ng point ito, no? Tsaka to. Negative 2 or positive 2, negative 3 or positive 3, ang tawag dyan sa mga scores na yan, mga outliers. So kapag yung score mo, yung z-score, makikita sa extreme right, sobrang galing ng score na yon. Kapag yung score naman ay nasa extreme left, sobrang baba naman ng score na yon. These are the outliers. Okay? So ganun din, no, yung logic sa z-score, di ba? Yung z-score will tell us kung nasaan, specifically nasaang area sa normal curve ang isang raw score. Just like what we did in standard deviation. So kapag yung z-score mo ay nandoon sa area number 2, ang tawag dyan ay below average. Kapag yung z-score mo ay nasa area number 4, ang tawag dyan average, so on and so forth. Another way on how to spot where the raw score is in the normal curve is what we call t-score. Basically, ang t-score, ito ang formula niyan, t equals 50 plus 10. Tapos, imumultiply mo yung 10 sa formula ng standard deviation, no? X minus mean divided by standard, ng z-score, I mean. X minus mean divided by standard deviation, di ba yan yung formula ng z-score. So 50 plus 10 multiplied to the formula of the z-score. Now, if you notice, ano yung logic ng 50 plus 10? Kasi yun yung dalawang bagong numbers dito. Yung 50, finifix natin yung 50, pinagpapalagay natin na yung average ng population is 50, while we also fix the standard deviation of the distribution or the population at 10. Okay, so regardless kung ano man yung average ng population mo, regardless kung ano man yung standard deviation ng population mo, we assume the 50 and 10. 50 ang average, 10 ang standard deviation. So let's work this out. If your score is 77 over 100, the population mean is 65, and the standard deviation is 5, and you apply the formula of the t-score, it gives you a t-score of 74. Okay? 74 ngayon yan. So, anong ibig sabihin ng t equals 74? Well, in a scale of 0 to 100, yung performance ng taong ito is at around 74. O ano ngayon ang ibig sabihin ng 74? E di titignan mo lang dito, nandito yung 70. So definitely 74 belongs within this area. So ang tawag natin dyan ay high average. Okay? High average ngayon ang tawag doon sa 74. Now, ano ngayon ang advantage ng T-score over Z-score? Kasi ang T-score, mas madali siyang intindihin, mas madali siyang i-visualize in our minds. Kasi T-score will just represent a person's performance in a scale of 0 to 100, which is, I think, many people would understand. 'Di ba? Kasi sa kultura talaga natin, 100 talaga yung parang performance of perfection natin, eh. 'Di ba? So, parang 'pag tinanong mo sa tao, "O in a scale of 0 to 100, gaano kagaling 'yan?" It's easier to visualize. O 'pag sinabi mong, "Nasa 50 'yan." Tama lang 'yan. O kaya 'pag sinabi mong, "Nasa 80 'yan." Magaling 'yan. It's easier to visualize compared to Z-score, 'di ba? Halimbawa, gaano ba kagaling yung tao na 'yan? Positive 1.6 'yan sa Z-score system or negative 2.5 yan sa Z-score system. Hindi mo masyadong ma-visualize how does that work. But if you translate a person's performance in a scale of 0 to 100, it's easier to understand which yun nga yung ginagawa ng T-score system. Pero again, connected naman yan. No? Z-score man yan or T-score man yan, the logic is we are spotting where a raw score is within the normal curve. Yun lang naman yung ginagawa natin dyan. 'Di ba? Hinahanap natin nasaan sa normal curve yung mga raw scores na yan by using either Z-score system, T-score system, or nalimutan ko sabihin kanina yung standard deviation system. Okay? But again, remember, ito mahalaga to, no? Lalong-lalo na kapag nagde-develop kayo ng test at ginagawa nyo na yung norm, the standard deviation system, the Z-score system, or the T-score system must only be used if the scores distribution is normal. Ibig sabihin, dapat kapag nag-pilot testing ka, kinuha mo yung mga raw score, ginawa mo siyang curve, the shape of the curve must be normal para magamit mo yung standard deviation, Z-score, and T-score. Ngayon, halimbawa, kung yung curve mo hindi normal yung curve mo, then you cannot proceed to develop the norm. You cannot just write in the manual to use the standard deviation system, Z-score system, or the T-score system. So, mangongolekta ka pa ngayon ng mga scores, mag-a-adjust ka na naman sa pagpili mo ng test population or ng pilot population hanggang sa yung iyong distribution ay maging normal. And I think we already discussed, how can we know if the distribution of your scores is normal? Merong statistical test dyan, di ba? Yung pinakilala ko sa inyo, yung Shapiro-Wilk or Kolmogorov-Smirnov test. These are statistical methods that will tell you if the shape of your curve is normal or not. So, sabi ko nga, ang pinakatinitingnan dyan is the column on significance. Kapag yung significance mo dito is less than 0.05, that's bad news. Your curve is not normal. You would like the SIG to be greater than 0.05 because this indicates na yung curve mo, itsura niya, more or less, hindi nalalayo sa perfect normal curve. So, ibig sabihin, kapag less than 0.05, significantly different yung, yung shape ng scores mo sa isang ideal normal curve. Okay, so that ends our short discussion on how we can spot scores in the normal curve using the three systems, standard deviation, T-score, and the Z-score. So in our next episode, meron na naman tayong panibagong technique na pag-aaralan on how to assign meanings to the raw score. Until next time, thank you for listening. God bless everyone.